All right. Hello, everybody. I am Cecilia Griego with the Economic and Community Development Department. I'm on the city's team to help guide and manage this project with. We're also working with various community organizations that are really helping us reach out and reach as many people as possible in our focus area. So it's us, and then there's All of Us or None, Bakersfield Senior Center, Circle of Life Foundation, and the Community Advisory Council. So they've been really doing a great job. I don't know if any of them are on the call right now or the Zoom, but I'd like to thank them again for their efforts and really helping get the word out and educate the community on TCC. So I'll go ahead and get going. Oops. Sorry, let me go ahead and admit in person. Next slide. It's not cooperating. Come on. There we go. There we go. All right, kind of what I'm going to go over today is just a little bit of background on TCC, our current engagement timeline, our call for projects, which we're doing right now. I'm going to go a few examples of project types to kind of inspire you on what some of the things that this program can fund. And also we're going to go over some of the criteria of really what makes a strong TCC project. And then I'm going to kind of do a little step-by-step guide on how to submit a project. My computer is being slow. Okay, TCC, it's what it is. It's a program that empowers communities most impacted by pollution and allows them to choose their own strategies, goals, and projects to help reduce greenhouse gases and local air pollution. Right now, it is a growing partnership between the city and our community collaborative team, like who I mentioned before, including the Leadership Council, Bakersfield Senior Center, Community Advisory Council, Circle of Life Development Foundation, and All of Us or None. The TCC program focuses on efforts in disadvantaged communities that are most vulnerable to environmental health concerns and economic challenges. Come on. There we go. What does TCC fund? It funds development and infrastructure projects to support environmental health and economic benefits. All projects proposed by the community will be disclosed in the plan. However, projects can only be considered for funding if they meet TCC readiness requirements. And I'm kind of going to go over that, kind of get a clue of what that criteria and requirements are as I kind of guide through the call for projects. Projects are generally considered ready if they can show a reduction in greenhouse gas, benefit the community, and demonstrate sources of funding or other specific requirements. Just a little bit on some of the projects that can be funded with TCC. There's transit stations and facilities, urban greening, sidewalks, bike lanes, low carbon transit vehicles, clean vehicle rebates, enhancements or expansion of neighborhood parks and community spaces, construction or rehab of affordable housing, new and expanded transit services, capital improvements related to transit systems, advanced technology enhancements or conversions, installment of energy efficiency measures such as solar systems, replacement of inefficient appliances and fixtures with more high efficiency models. To continue on with some examples, water efficiency upgrades, including water audits, submetering, leak detection repair, recycling, education programs, reuse and repair programs, or non-traditional recyclables. community gardens, school gardens, community kitchen, food hubs, agriculture and healthy food education opportunities and programs, increase access to parks and green space through capital improvements and projects and programs, and small recreational facility upgrades such as picnic areas, bathrooms, and whatnot. Sorry, continuing letting people in. Next slide. A little bit on our timeline. In July, we kind of had like an open house, kind of get people reintroduced to TCC. What can it possibly do? And then right now we're doing a call for projects, so you get ideas from the community. What really kind of fill out a kind of a project roadmap of what they want to see in the plan and what projects they hope can be implemented. And then our next one in September, we'll kind of go over what projects were submitted and really do more of a prioritization and really evaluate, can they be, grant ready. Also, and then October, November, we'll kind of put everything together into a draft plan for the public to provide feedback on. We'll do another workshop looking at the plan, discussing it, soliciting feedback, and then in December, we will finalize the plan and submit it to the state. Call for projects, like I said, right now, we're having it open through August 27th. Again, this is an opportunity for members of the community to submit projects for inclusion in the TCC community vision. A little bit deeper dive on projects. For example, we can do affordable housing projects. These are some local examples I have in pictures, but you can do permanent housing, such as multifamily, single family, if you can do a collection meeting the right density requirements. We're also focusing on reducing displacement by supporting existing residents and homeowners with first-time buyer payment assistance, workshop and grants on homeownership, financial support for financial rehab of existing homes, and also maybe a micro unit or rent to own types of scenarios. So there's different ways we can also support the existing residents in existing homes. There's also a portion of TCC that goes towards economic and workforce development, and this is kind of broken up between small business support and again some job training. So again, it's just part of the overall TCC package to really give the residents a boost as far as not only community investments but also supporting the businesses and residents that are there. So you can do things such as micro grant programs, incubator programs, technical assistance support, but such as basic accounting or business setup plans, business coaching, bond and insurances for businesses, access to capital for business development or expansion. We can also do workforce programs such as English language programs, job career training, career centers, apprenticeship, certification type programs, and career readiness programs for students. For under the active transportation category, we can do, here's some of the examples we've already heard from the community. So like extension of the linear park down to Brundage, 4th Street active transportation corridor with, bike ped and transit improvements, increased signage and streetlights, new sidewalks, and pedestrian improvements and enhanced sidewalks. Under the transit or other mobility type options, you can do electric vehicle charging stations, electric vehicle car share, pedestrian improvements, enhanced bus stops, bus terminals, or actual purchases of buses for new routes, such as a circular bus or other types of transit increases in service. Under urban greening, this is really, a lot of this is mixed in with some of the active transportation things, because a lot of times when you enhance sidewalks or urban trails or paths, you're also doing an urban greening component, which would be the case for the linear park. Also, if we do some things like green alleyways or enhancing transportation, community gardens, park improvements. I mean, these are some both a mix of local representation and kind of inspirational ideas of what this program can fund. How will projects be evaluated? Really, there's these are kind of the key things as a prioritization tool that so each projects will be scored based on how well they meet each of these criteria. So if there's a demonstrated community need or support, has the ability to reduce greenhouse gases, addresses climate adaptation, ability of the site of where the project is located, if it's a construction site, to actually ability for able to construct and implement the project, addresses a housing need, which is another thing TCC would like to see, improves mobility, walking, biking, transit, provides job or job training, is consistent with a local plan or regional plan, or has, and also has identified and interested partners, meaning there's somebody, an entity that is there that will help implement, that will be the lead in implementing the project. Because there'll be some that will city lead, there will also be some that TCC partners will lead based on the type of project it is. So basically how to submit a project, we're doing it electronically. You can go to our website, it's bakersfieldtccsplan.org. Right at the top, it's submit project, there's a button right there. And we're also, if you need a paper copy emailed to you and prefer to do it that way, you're welcome to do that. There's my contact information, or you can even submit it to one of our many community partners as well. They are also taking the forms in as well. A little bit kind of step-by-step guide of the form and what kind of the types of information we hope to see when you fill it out. Obviously a project title. Here's I did kind of a couple examples, a housing example, and then using the Mill Creek Park extension as another example. So here's, a basic title. Then again, you want a kind of a brief description for the housing. It's, to build an affordable multifamily 4-unit structure for this one. Or this project for the Mill Creek Park extension. Says this project will extend the walking trail, enhance sidewalks, and urban greening around the Kern, along the Kern Delta Canal. Where is your project located? Obviously, for the housing project, we have an address, but for, sometimes you don't have an address, sometimes it's just a general area. So that's okay as well. So for the Mill Creek, it's the Delta Irrigation Canal from California Avenue to Greenwich Lane. In step 4 on the form, we asked to think, I think this is a pull down menu. So we have a pull down menu of options of what community benefit the project is providing. Obviously for the first one, it's affordable housing. And for the Mill Creek, it's the 2 of the options. It's, make it easier to walk, bike, or take the bus, or it also plants trees or other plants. For step 5, we're hoping to get a little more details. This is where you kind of really explain the benefits to community. So for the affordable housing project, it says to provide safe, reliable, affordable housing to avoid displacement of a low-income community, and provide 4 units of housing affordable to incomes below 60% of the area median income. So that's, we know that we're providing housing units to those lower income levels. Again, for the Mill Creek, we want to, the description is to provide 1 mile of an urban trail to encourage walking and biking, plant 100 trees and 200 plants that reduce greenhouse gas measures. So, I don't know if that's true for that project as far as the number of plants and trees, but that's just an example of kind of the details we hope to see to understand, because really kind of what I said in the beginning, each project needs to show some sort of community benefit, whether it's a reduced greenhouse gas, an economic or health benefit. Those are the key factors that TCC wants to see. Step 6 on the form is to indicate whether if the city or another willing partner owns the land where your project is being constructed. Obviously, if it's like a bike path, public right-of-way type project, the city would be the obvious partner. But there's sometimes the site, we're not sure where it could be located or where, who owns it, who has control of it. So this example, I put yes for the housing, because there is identified willing partner. And I put no as an example for the Mill Creek because the canal, it's not owned by the city. It is owned by a special district. So there is some additional steps that would be involved in making that project happen. This is where we
Hey,
ask.
Cecilia, I just have a quick question. So just going through this example, I'm seeing that the answers aren't like super detailed.
No.
And so at this point, the deadline for these ideas, it seems like a lot of them can be concepts and not necessarily like taken to a extreme level of detail. And then am I correct in assuming that at the next phase, these projects will be prioritized and then fleshed out even more if they're deemed to be of high interest to the community?
Yes, exactly. We just want concepts and ideas at this point. We really want to see what the community's hopes and dreams are for their community, what they want to see happening, really, really broad, really, even if you're not quite sure, let's say, you want to target a certain area, you want to do certain types of improvements, you can kind of call it, for example, let's say there's some East Chester residents that I call it East Chester revisioning project, whatever you want to do or improvement. So you can kind of do broad concepts like that. But we'd like to hear, at least if you know what you want to do, some sort of narrative helps at this level too. But we really want to, yeah, exactly. We really want to just see the vision, hear from the community, put it in our roadmap. So we kind of have that building blocks. But yeah, the next phase is once we have, because this phase, we're just going to identify the projects and score them based on how well they meet that TCC criteria as best as we can. But obviously, even that probably won't be final. It's just a kind of an initial guidance kind of tool. And really, yeah, the next phase will be really digging into the projects and see, can they really be TCC ready? Are they going to be able to meet those readiness requirements? Also, kind of jumping ahead in the next phase, really in the next phase is we're going to formalize the engagement as well, establish a formal steering committee, working groups, really dig in. That will allow us to really kind of dig into these projects as well. So really, yeah, right now we're just kind of building a vision and building ideas. So yeah, exactly. These next step, we are asking for a little detail if known. We obviously, not everybody will know the cost of their projects or their wishes, but some might. So we wanted to give them an opportunity to provide that information as well. Because we definitely, TCC is, we can't fund everything. We know we will have a set budget, but we definitely want to include projects that'll definitely make the most sense and be the most competitive. So that's why this guidebook will help us figure out what will make what projects can be considered most competitive as well. So for the housing example, I have, our known partners, the Housing Authority of Kern, and their budget for this 4-unit is $500,000. Also, that we had asked about other funding sources, because what's great about this guidebook is even if it's not a fundable project under TCC, I see there's chat comments. I'll get to those in a minute. We want to know if you know of other funding sources that can possibly fund. For example, the city has set aside PS funds for affordable housing, so that might be leverage funding or other funding that we can use for certain projects. And again, also for the Mill Creek, I mean, the last one, it was heavily funded by a state infrastructure grant. So that's that's something we want to think about as well. So, the city will be a partner, but also, like I said, a special district also, but there's also federal, state transportation grant opportunities. I have a estimated budget of 15 million. So, that's definitely a more larger scale project for sure. And then step 8 is if you have identified a partner, whether it's, I think with the options we have are local government, nonprofit, business, we have those, identify who those would be also. Okay, slide. We also give the opportunity for people to upload photos. Obviously, you won't have your project built to give an example, but there's inspirational photos that you find maybe in other neighborhoods or streets or maybe other cities, or just doing Google searches and you use something, yeah, that's what I want to see. That's a perfect example of my project. And that will help too. So we can definitely, when we start having those detailed concessions, we can think about those details and what to include. So this is, example of, the 4-unit housing structure, and then obviously the current Mill Creek Park and what that can look like if it's extended. And the last step, obviously, I know it says optional on the form, but it'd be great if you can include your name, email, phone number. So if we have questions about your project and want to know what you're, want to have more discussions with you, make sure you know about the next phase and being part of those discussions. We definitely want to have all of your contact information. I also wanted to kind of give you a preview, like once we have all this call for projects, what is going to do, what does that mean? So this is kind of like a sample of the roadmap that we'll have there. So each project will have its score, a project name, resources and readiness is required, just kind of naming some initial steps that might be needed to make your project ready. Any partners that are identified or implementing agencies, the benefits you discuss that will be part of it, basic project description and goals, just knowing what are some of the key things you want to do in that to implement that project. Funding and leverage, we obviously want to know other possible, if it's not TCC, what other funding sources can also fund your project to build that leverage. And also, again, an estimated cost. Have any other questions? Okay. So that will basically, what it'll look like. In the next meeting, we'll have a full draft version of this to start, going over so we can see all the projects submitted.
Cecilia, I do have a question. So I think it'd be helpful to have a better sense of how much funding the city actually thinks it might obtain through this grant process. Do we know for sure that there's a certain amount that the SDC might grant Bakersfield, or does it depend on how many viable projects are proposed?
We don't really know. In the last round, I think they gave was it 23 or 28? I can remember, 23 or $28 million grants to communities. In previous rounds, they've had as much as 30 or 35. I mean, it's varied every round. It's very different based on how much they've allocated. They allocated $420 million for 3 more rounds. That's all we know. So until they release more guidance, we really won't know, but we definitely want to, have a good list of candidates ready and we do have last year's guidelines. So we do know roughly what each project needs to get funded. So we can use that to kind of build our list.
Do you think it's realistic that Bakersfield might be able to match the funding amount that Fresno got, which I believe was 70 million?
If the state offers that, I don't know if they're going to offer 70 million again. It just, most of really to be competitive, every award winner for TCC had over 100% match. So really what they want to see, they want to see not only a strong, we can ask, but they also want to see that strong local investment as well, whether it be, really a collection of investments. They really want to see from all sources, a strong community effort to build your collaborative and to have multiple investments in a focused, targeted area. So, we'll definitely do our best to get to that point. That's the whole point of doing this is really a starting point. This plan or really to get to the next level. We just have to start putting all of our pulling all our resources together and start building this collaborative, start hashing out projects, and really getting ourselves ready, aligning resources. So yeah, I'm hopeful that we'll get there. But again, even if we need to be strategic, if we don't think, let's say the guidelines come out pretty quickly and we don't think we're ready for this next round, it might make more sense to us to wait maybe to the second round. If, depending on where we're at when the guidelines come out and when that timeline is. So we just need to either or we'll be working towards making ourselves ready. When that happens, it will just depend on a lot of factors. So next slide. All right, so yeah, like today's workshop really is about to help you talk through your project ideas. Kind of the rest of the time, that's how we'll do that. You can definitely ask me questions. I'll go to the chat in just a minute. We can start with those, but then I hope everybody knows how to use your raise for hand feature. It's under the participants menu. If you have any questions or ideas, and I see Emma has her hand raised. Go ahead, Emma.
Hello, everyone. I was just going to flag that it was me typing in the chat box. I was asking folks to please include your contact information if you feel more comfortable private messaging Cecilia or myself. You can do that. We just want to make sure we have everyone's contact information.
Yeah, exactly. So that'll help be like our sign-in sheet too. So we know, yeah, if you want a private message, if you don't want to share anybody, that's fine. That works as well too. Just so we know who's here. So Emma, okay, great, Emma. Yeah, I don't know if we had any, did we have any Spanish speakers? I don't know, Emma can do a brief intro. Anybody? I don't know if we had any.
¿Alguien que hable español? Que guste interpretación de la presentación.
Doesn't look like we do.
I can also, I'm more than happy to work with any of you if you'd like to have gatherings with community members, folks. We can go out and support and provide the information in Spanish as well.
I only see one question in the chat just from Mr. Cohen. Didn't Fresno and San Bernardino each get? I can't remember. I know Fresno got 70. San Bernardino, I can't remember. I always forget. I know some of them did get like around 30, 35. But you can go to the Strategic Growth Council, sgc.ca.gov. They have information on all past 3 rounds there. But is anybody have any questions or about project ideas they want to hash out with us or anything?
Cecilia, this is Jonathan Yates
Sure.
from the Hub of Bakersfield. Quick question. Do you think, is it possible to see ideas that are already submitted?
We'll say that at the September 6th, 9th meeting. We'll have them all there. We want to give everybody a chance to give them in. So after that, August 27th, we'll be accumulating them all. We know there'll probably be repeats, but that's great. That just demonstrate their strong support for certain projects. So yeah, at that next meeting, we'll show them all, but we definitely want to just have everybody get an opportunity to get them all in.
So yeah, this is Carlos Mejia. In regards to the Sumner Station, I know that the city is still working out a plan for that, but it almost feels as there might be an opportunity to kind of roll a proposal to do something with a summer station that can coincide with this funding.
Maybe it just depends on what it is. The only thing I can think is maybe rehab, definitely related to making it more, green. Solar, window replacements, that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, it just depends depends on what ultimately gets put in there. You can also tie it in, like I said, there's that workforce development component. So whoever the developer is who's willing to offer, maybe job training skills in the construction trade or something, we can support that with. I mean, it's, you gotta think creative in what could possibly the grants could support. And so yeah.
So with something like a project labor agreement with, let's say, building trades in Kern that offers programs to train folks in the journeyman level trades, something like that?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
exactly. That would, yeah, we can definitely fund that training with the grants, because it will need to be like targeted training to residents in the focus area. So yeah. So any other ideas anybody wants to talk about or need help with at this point?
Cecilia, do you feel like there's been enough of a response from community organizations and advocates at this point? I know that the participation of local groups and community members is also a big factor in making our application more competitive as a city. And so are you getting enough participation thus far?
We're definitely getting a good start. I mean, we struggled a lot during COVID because we were restricted to just virtual engagement, and we really weren't successful in reaching people. But now with this extension and the ability to go out into the community, we're getting a lot, but we need more. I mean, most TCC efforts had hundreds. So we had 64, which is double than what we had in July. So we're building there. We still need more people coming in the focus areas. So as many people we can bring to the table, and that's the kind of really what we want to accomplish with this effort right now is doing those targeted discussions like Emma said, where we have community groups that are going out doing small focus conversations, just getting people up to speed on what TCC is, what kind of projects, getting their project ideas so we can get them in the vision. Really trying to get as many people educated and informed as possible at this point. And that way we can, have a strong vision to work off of. So in the next phase will be more of a, formal development of a steering committee, focus groups, getting our community kind of collaborative established so we can have it written, because we'll need, an agreement, kind of it's almost like a semi-quasi governmental entity as itself. We'll have a partnership agreement, will outlines what the role of each partner is, what the role of the community is, and how they are supposed to be engaged. It's all very formal. So, but right now, yeah, we need more people from all over the focus area. And we're hoping by the end of this, we'll hopefully reach over 100. Would be nice to really have a regular, a consistent commitment from key members to be, because honestly, it is a commitment. I mean, once we establish that, they'll need to commit to come, to attend, to be there. I mean, Fresno, for example, had a limit, said you had to attend a certain amount of meetings to even vote on a project. I don't know if we're gonna do it like that. I mean, every TCC community set up their own kind of project submittal criteria. So it just depends what works for us, what makes the most sense at the, whatever the collaborative kind of thinks is fair and right in choosing projects to be part of the application. So again, we're getting there, but we do need more people coming. So, any other questions?
So, related to the question that Johnny Yates actually put forward, Do you have a bit of an idea of where right now the concentrated effort of outreach is happening?
Emma, do you want to talk to that? Because she's kind of taking the main lead on that one.
Sure. So we've been mostly targeting the area south of California Avenue to ensure that folks who may not have internet access or may not be as familiar with like, the city can have information on the program. And we are also helping in the Old Town Kern area as well. I think we'll start targeting, we'll start to go and do a door-to-door over by 34th Street in the next week to make sure folks out there are aware of this program as well.
But all of you, I mean, all of you, if you think any areas think are, you know, everybody here can be also a part of the outreach effort. And, you know, I've been, you know, getting the flyers out. On my list includes everybody who was also part of our downtown vision. So most people have been getting the flyers. So all of you can help get the word out too and pass on the flyers and project website information to anybody you think is interested or in the focus area, or stakeholders you think are not being included, please. But yeah, I've been sending it to the DBA. I know you members of the hub have been getting information as well. Andre's been very active in trying to get the word out to as many people as possible as well. So, but we can all, you know, it's hard. It's hard to reach people sometimes. And I think there's a lot of people doing a lot of effort, but yeah, you know, there's still time. Like I said, that we're still getting started. But we know there's a lot of community voices that still need to be heard. Any other questions, or anybody have a project? Everybody's quiet. Well, I will hang on here just for a little bit. I mean, if you guys are done asking questions, you're welcome to, you know, step out early. But, you know, I did, you know, this meeting is set till 1:30, and I want to give anybody who might join late an opportunity to speak as well. So I'll probably hang out here very quietly.
I'm kind of curious, others who are on the call, are there any ideas that people are really excited about that they want to share? I mean, I don't know if anybody wants to do any brainstorming, or if not, I think we can all just submit our projects by next week and then have some of that discussion in follow-up meetings.
Yeah, hopefully my slides were helpful, giving you some ideas. I mean, that's not all inclusive. I mean, some, just to give a few examples, some cities really got creative. Like some did some targeted investments to help artists. Some did target, I mean, there's a lot of interesting ideas. So as long as you tie it to, you know, a community benefit, I mean, really, it's pretty open. And another thing they do, once we tell SGC we are going to apply, they're going to assign us a technical assistance advisor. So they do that to every because I know TCC is just complicated. So they always offer a TA assistance. So once the guidelines come out, they usually say, hey, if you need tech, you know, you are required, if you need TCC, you will be assigned. So they can also help us with project development as well. And so there's especially some of the ones involving if your benefits greenhouse. Oh, here's a new person. If your project is a greenhouse gas focused one, there's certain, you know, calculations and benefits. We actually have to calculate how much greenhouse gas each project is reducing, which can be pretty technical. So they provide that assistance as well. I just saw a new person joined us. I don't know. Right now, we're just kind of hashing out ideas, projects that people might have they might want to see as part of the vision.
Cecilia, I know that you showed us some snippets of what would be considered successful for the program, but
Mhm.
do you have the ability to share with us any of the official proposals that were submitted that kind of can generate a better idea in the sense of like what a full package would look like?
Again, I mean, we're still, that's gonna happen at the next meeting. We're still, we're accumulating them, but we're still, it's,
Oh, no, I mean from
past winners?
past recipients
Oh.
and winners.
Um, I mean, they're on the TCC website. There's Transform Fresno. I mean, a lot of them just, I do have a couple slides that show, but they're not in this presentation. They're in another presentation. But, there's a lot of obviously trees and planting, and a lot of them, some of them have community solar projects where they actually help install solar on low-income single-family homes or do solar for a multifamily project. Some of them do, like for example, some of them, when they do the tree planting, they also, for workforce development component, they also do arborist training to train those people to how to, the species of trees and how to take care of them, and doing those kind of skill development. I mean, I can do a follow-up. If everybody makes sure that has their email to me, I can send you some of the information I have, just summary information. I have a summary on the Sacramento project, the San Fernando East, the Pacoima area, in the San Fernando Valley project, and I have a little bit of a summary on Fresno. Fresno's list is pretty long, as you can imagine, because they got that 70 million. But most of, you can see the smaller scale projects, you can tell. I can provide that. I'll email it out after this, and I can give you some guidance. But I encourage you to look at the TCC website. They have a summary of all their award winners. They have some pretty detailed information in there as well. Oh, somebody put the Transform Fresno in the chat. So there you go.
I also wanted to add, Cecilia, I think you did show the matrix for
Yeah, I
evaluating
did.
projects, but if it's handy, could we possibly go through the prioritization tool?
Yeah, let me, I'll have to stop. Yeah, that's a good idea. Let me, hold on. I'll have to pull it up and then I can, because I don't have it open, and I'll stop share. Hold on. You probably see black screen covering. Hold on. Let me get it open and then I can reshare. Grant.
Well, Cecilia does that. I want to flag the comment or the question that Carlos made, which is addressing climate change a priority at all for TCC? And yes, it is. The TCC program is actually funded through cap and trade. And so reducing greenhouse gases is a huge priority for the program, and also really prioritizes communities that are impacted by pollution. And the SGC utilizes a Cal Enviro screen to determine which are those communities that are most impacted by the pollution, which is why we've focused a lot on, at least for outreach, on the community south of California Avenue, given that they're just so close to the 58, the train tracks, and just the heavy traffic that goes through there, and the lack of urban greening. So all of that obviously contributes to the contamination. And so we want to ensure that communities that are really impacted by the pollution are have a voice in this program.
Yeah, like you said, one of the things in our application, we have to have a climate adaptation and resiliency plan. So we will have to have that narrative and discuss how each project that reduces greenhouse gases contributes to that. So yeah, can everybody see this kind of tool? I hope so. So you can see we're gonna score based, obviously community need and community support is important, but there's also other, criteria that TCC is looking at when it talks about projects. So like I said, there's community need, greenhouse gas reduction, climate adaptation, see it's here. And you know, there's project ideas. We want to make sure, you know, is there an available site for this project? You know, also getting an idea of what kind of project it is, if it addresses a housing need, a mobility type project, or if it's like a workforce jobs type project. And what TCC really likes to see is kind of the workforce jobs component tied into the kind of mobility and housing projects that you propose. They really like to see kind of a good partnership where you're kind of doing that jobs training as part of doing the community projects. You see that, they really like to see that. And then the next one is about the soups. Okay, come on. Okay, it's about community support and kind of meeting existing plans. So there's existing plans. As far as does it, you know, project connects to ours. Oh yeah, if it's you know, it's tied to already planned kind of community infrastructure or regional infrastructure, and also has an implementing partner. I mean, that's key. We really want to make sure, you know, these projects are great ideas, but at the end, I mean, need somebody to implement it. So that's just a thing, something to think about. So these are just kind of things we want people to think about when they're generating their project ideas. Who those partners will be, what community benefits, and what kind of community support. And then there's still time to build support. Like I said, we're trying to get ideas and build a vision, but really in the next phase, having the community continue to engage and hash out these projects, build support around certain projects, that'll still be an important part of it as well. But like I said, right now, we're just trying to build a vision and make people kind of give people a preview of really what can possibly be funded under TCC. But even if we don't, you know, kind of like, even if we're not successful at TCC, because it's a competitive process, we'll have this roadmap, we'll have this vision, and hopefully maybe we can start working on it with other funding sources and grants, and really helping guide kind of revitalization in the area as well. So hope that helped. If you want, I think we sent out a copy of this I know I did. I don't know if everybody here got it. If you don't, I can definitely email it to you. Just let me know.
Cecilia, based on what I've seen from other cities who've gotten the TCC grant, it seems like multimodal paths are very strong projects that are usually incorporated. So like the example you gave of the Mill Creek Park extension further south would be a very good project in some respects. But I'm curious though, because you said before you need to have shovel-ready projects. I'm wondering how some of those projects might be impacted by, you know, some of the property issues with who owns the canal, or if the right-of-way is, say, like a railroad path that's not being used, or how would those be evaluated by the SGC in light of them not necessarily being like totally shovel ready?
Well, yeah, I mean, we definitely would have our work cut out for us for some of those more complicated projects. So yeah, I mean, that's what I meant. It's the timing of it will be important. If we can get, like, that's a huge, like you said, that's a huge project, impacts many property owners. There's a lot of property owners in the South. And a lot of times you got to realize that the canal is actually on people's properties. It's actually an easement on, so you're talking about a property purchase negotiation all the way down with so yeah, that one is definitely a lot more complex. And we may come to a point, I mean, I think it's still very important to include it in the vision and the plan, because even if it is a more long-term project, it's something we can work towards and build towards and start taking those steps. And, you know, the last one, I don't know, people, yeah, the last one, I think the first visioning for the canal was done in the early 2000s, and it wasn't finally completed until what, 2011-ish, 12, So, 11 years. So yeah, we have a work cut out for that one. But I feel, it's something people want, so we should put it there and we can work towards making, all those kind of complicated behind the scenes work that needs to get done. We can get started on it.
So then just as in general, if I'm just had to like try to categorize projects that might be more easy to be shovel ready, is it easier if it's just all on city property, like it's all on a street that the city owns and maintains kind of thing?
That, yeah, for sure. Yeah, if it's in the public right of way, and even then, a lot of people don't know. I mean, sometimes the public right of way starts at the curb. It's not even on the sidewalk. So, I mean, you got to think about the type, where you want improvements, because it does involve cooperation from property owners as well, besides the city. I mean, city, yeah, crosswalks, things directly in the street for sure. Signalization, street lights, things the city normally installs and maintains. Yeah, those are definitely, those are there's no site control issues there. But if somebody wants a new park that the city doesn't own, somebody wants something that's on private property, yeah, you definitely need, or like those green alleyway concepts, you'll need the cooperation of every property owner along that alley. So yeah, so it's definitely, like I said, but TCC is meant to be a community partnership. It's meant to be bring all these people together, property owners, business owners, residents, and and so yeah, it's not easy. We have a long way to go. That's why this is just the beginning.
I think it's awesome that we're thinking ahead about what the steps are that we need to take in order to make these projects come to life. But just remember that for purposes of this plan, even if you include an outline of the steps that will need to happen in order to make the project come to life, will be enough. Because again, there's the understanding that the city would then have to apply for the implementation grant, which at that point, that's when we would need to have all of the pieces together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the next phase, and we're just trying to build us to get there. So yeah, but yeah, hopefully whenever that might occur, we want to be ready. Any other questions? I don't know, I'll look at the chat. Is there any questions in the chat? Oh, Adam said we can do planning stuff too. I said, yeah, we do. We can do there is a point that can go towards development costs, but it does have to end in the project being completed within 5 years. So, so yeah, we have to be realistic too on whatever project we do planning work on, making sure it can be completed in the 5-year time limit. Yeah, you have a question, Adam?
Yeah, well, I was just going to add something, Cecilia. So something I've seen done on a lot of these state grants is, breaking it up into phases. And so it's not even just phases in terms of how the project is deployed. So if you're doing like a complete street, like 10 miles, not necessarily breaking it up in mile segments, but you could also break it up in terms of right-of-way acquisition, or conducting an EIR or tree planting. So I would encourage the city, if there's more complex projects that might have multiple phases, maybe we go after a certain dollar amount for, phase 1A, to do an EIR or to acquire right of way or that type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we'll definitely have to get figured out pretty early, because all environmental review, like Adam, if those you don't know what CEQA or NEPA is, that's the environmental review process you have to do before you break ground on kind of large infrastructure projects. So, and that takes time. Sometimes it takes up to a year. So that's something that has to be done before we apply for TCC if the project needs that kind of environmental review. But that's something we those kind of details we need to, we definitely, like you'll see in that, I think, and I put in one of the project readiness column on my matrix, CEQA, NEPA review, if it's needed. Not all projects will need that. It's usually more the large scale projects. And usually projects that are just going into our right of way doesn't need it easier because it's already part of the right of way. So it just depends on each project. We have to do case by case.
Hi, Cecilia.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question about, I probably should discuss more after this meeting's over, but I'm still trying to understand what this project is about, who's eligible, like who are the types of organizations, is it like city governments partnering with community organizations, who takes the lead on these applications? And
It's, okay, sorry.
and I may have missed this earlier, sorry, but if you want, we can
No.
talk more after, because I'm still like really trying to understand what this project is about, maybe how the community organizations I'm involved with can partner.
Sure. No, great question. I think this will help others understand better as well. No, basically what TCC, anybody can take the lead. It's been in some organizations, it's been the city. In some organizations, it's actually been a nonprofit that's actually been in the city's just a co-applicant. So it really depends on how it kind of grows, what it grows into. But when you apply for TCC, it's actually a community collaborative that applies. So it's usually the city and other nonprofits. Sometimes it's businesses, sometimes it's health organizations, sometimes it's like chambers. There's a mix. They really want to, there's a mix of who's a TCC part of each community's TCC collaborative. So, it kind of grows and kind of whatever happens that community, who, the goals of their own community TCC vision kind of drives those projects. So really that's who can participate. Anybody and everybody. You just have to just know what kind of role your organization wants to play. If you actually want to implement a project, then you'll become a TCC partner, and that's what you'll be part of the partnership agreement. If you just want to be part of the, you're just a stakeholder and you want to make sure whatever projects get funded happen the way you want to see in your community, then that you'll be more of the kind of community steering committee role. So those are kind of the ways people participate. Is that clear? Was I clear?
Yeah, that's good. Thanks. Appreciate that. I think this program of TCC kind of overlaps a lot of my areas of interest. So I look forward to working with everyone involved and trying to get other folks involved as well. Climate change is a big, I think, issue for everyone. Not only Bakersfield, but low-income folks. They really struggle with access to clean energy. So I kind of want to look for ways to get their feedback on, like, do they want access to electric charging stations at their rental apartment complexes, or they want solar energy or electrification of utilities, et cetera. So look forward to sharing.
Yeah, and those are all things that can be funded. Anything that reduces greenhouse gases, any infrastructure. We're also working, or Emma has something. Well, let me finish a point, Emma, and I'll get to you. We're also working on another grant step where they're looking at possible electric vehicle car share opportunities. So, and all that, anything that gets people out of regular gas producing cars, either it's biking, baking, taking transit, sharing more, using more sustainable vehicles in a car share program. All of that is what they want to see invested in. So Emma, did you have a question?
I was just using an emoji to show that I agreed.
Oh, okay. So yeah, no, that's great. I'm glad. I'll be waiting to hear your ideas. Be great. Anybody else? And somebody asked about the spreadsheet. Yeah, I can send it out. Just make sure you include your email in the chat. If you want a direct message, I can make sure, because I think most people I have emails. I don't know if I have all, but just make sure I have a way to do that, and I'll do that. Any other questions? You have something really interesting you think might work out great, we can talk.
Since we have the time, could we talk a little bit about the anti-displacement strategies that we talked about yesterday?
Yeah. I mean, if you want to look at the draft plan, some of them are already in there, but yeah, they're basically what Emma means by anti-displacement. They're just policies and programs or strategies that help, help keep the low-income community there. So they're from, I think we have 3 broad categories, but the first one being, financial assistance to existing homeowners as far as, maybe rehab or, or if they're wanting to be first-time home buyers in the community, maybe they currently rent and want to move, there's down payment assistance. And then there's things like just increasing the supply of affordable housing in an area to make sure it stays affordable to, the residents that are there. Because we know one of the concerns with doing community investments is like, oh, we do all these great trails and great green spaces and great, brand new sidewalks. People, naturally property values increase, and then people get worried about being, priced out of their own neighborhood. So, and that's also important. So that's really built into the TCC program, having those strategies in place to support the existing residents, but also the existing small business owners and the residents. And also the job training and workforce development is also related to that. Maybe they have a good house in the neighborhood, they just need a, boost in their income in careers. So having that as an option as well and supporting that overall helps keep, people in their neighborhood so they can, move up in their careers and get the job training they need to be able to stay in their neighborhood as well. And then also small business support. There's always TCC is also thinking about supporting small business owners, because sometimes, big, what if a cheesecake factory comes in and knocks out the, the small business owner. So there's things like that to, offering capital, job business coaching, micro grants, maybe helping capital investment, business expansion, helping small business owners grow and sustain their businesses as well. So all those components will be addressed in the plan. I saw a new. Okay. Any other question? I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to cover. So I want to say, make sure everybody submits their name and email in the chat. You can do it direct message if you don't want to share of everybody. That way we may get a good idea of who was all here. It's like Emma also put the link to the TCC site as well in the chat. So hopefully you guys can, you're welcome. Like I said, they had on there the previous award winners, the communities. I think some of them even have, like she put Transform Fresno, but I think all of them, Sacramento, LA, San Bernardino, I think they all have their own kind of TCC project sites where they kind of keep updates as well. So you're welcome to explore those. I don't really have, if anybody, you're welcome to leave anytime if you think you have all your questions addressed. I'm just going to hang out here a little bit, see if any other, we have about 22 minutes left. So. You're welcome, Jonathan. I'm looking forward to seeing projects from the hub. Yes, Marcus, I will send that to you. I'll send it to everybody. I'll make sure I'll save the chat. And I'll send everybody the tool.
Celia, thank you so much for this presentation. This has been amazing, and also to all the work that Emma has done as well too in the community. I do have one question in regards to, let's say, for instance, some of the small businesses or startup businesses. How could they, within this program, kind of envision if they're looking to get startup capital? How could they envision working this in? Would it be more of a like installing solar power, creating opportunities to, like, let's say, regain their water that they use, things of that nature? What are some of the ways that small businesses can really tap into this?
Well, when you're talking about capital, I mean, if we can find a partner, like whoever does capital investing, like maybe a bank or some financial institution that offers capital, the small business, maybe we can partner where they do targeted support in the TCC focus areas. But, they can commit maybe a certain amount of investment to small businesses in the focus area. Something like that. So we would need to find an entity that does that, or if the business has a plan for expansion and they want to do more green investments. So they want to, they want to do solar, they want to maybe LEED certify their building or something, or do HVAC replacements, or lighting replacements, anything, or fixture replacements, a lot of old fixtures, just replacing those, reducing their water and energy use is big. So, I mean, we can support those kinds of things. But again, I mean, it takes kind of like it'd be great if we can do, maybe there's a nonprofit willing to do that. I know one company we're working with, Grid Alternatives, they did this for the Fresno TCC. They actually go in and do like audits of a whether it's a home. I think they mainly focused on homes, but we can probably do it for aging, build businesses that are maybe in an aging building as well. Let's go in and do that kind of the energy audit where they go, because they're basically based on SOCRs. They'll go in and talk about, okay, you can replace your lights here, you can place your windows, you can replace your HVAC. I mean, they can kind of do an audit and then support. And then they particularly offer solar. So, I mean, there's different things. We're also talking with Habitat for Humanity. But again, this would be more of a home-based program, but maybe there's something in an entity similar to Habitat, because they were at our meeting yesterday. And what project we were talking about them is they would be in charge of doing like those home rehab type of things. So they can go in and do rehabs of existing homes, or to help, especially, Habitat's more focused on single family homes. So they can go in and do those energy or water use audits, and then do, the grant can fund a certain amount of home rehabs to do those efficiency upgrades. Maybe do some appliance replacing, fixture, lighting, new windows, new roof. If they want to do some of these things, some of these old homes, their roofs can't support solar. They weren't built to handle that. So that's a problem, a common problem too, to do solar on some of these homes, and they can't, they have to do a whole new roof, and that's just another cost. So things like that.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
And I want to say goodbye. Have a great weekend, and we look forward to working with all of you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Carlos. All right, well, I don't know if we're gonna get any new people. We only have about 15 minutes left. If there's any other questions, I'll probably go ahead and close this out. If there's any, honestly, per second, any, no hands raised, nobody? All right, well, I appreciate all of you being here and being a part of this. Again, this is just the beginning, so hopefully I can, if I haven't met you in person, hopefully I will. I encourage you to, attend our meetings. I know, we're trying to be COVID safe as much as possible. We did require masks, and we did do 2 sessions to limit the numbers as well. So we're definitely taking precautions, and so it's up. All right, well, I want to thank everybody. I'll go ahead and end this. And again, I'm looking forward to working with all of you.
Thank
Bye.
you, Cecilia.
Thank you, Emma.
Thank you all.